of the way he's willing to make fun of himself. Some of the things are from Phil's life, and some of the things are from Phil's the lies that he presents as his life. And he has a set of those, and he's very careful to obscure the difference. I mean, he wants to make this a riddle. I mean, it was as though he were writing, sort of private novels for himself, and so it's for connoisseurs of well, the word con artist has artist in it. And he was an artist at that sort of thing, and he knew it, and he expected his audience to appreciate his performances.
Dick's whole life was involved with religion, and his books really have a lot of religion in them, often in rather comedic form. There may be a guy up there in a satellite who's controlling your brain. He talks about God in a spray can. This is a kind of metaphor for, well, I suppose that as God I believe to be a human invention, so was the aerosol spray. And Dick saw these things as somehow interchangeable. For Dick, everything, of course, was interchangeable. In the end, of course, well, you have to face the fact, like many a good man, Philip.K. Dick went round the bend. That's the honest truth. And there are those who prefer the round the bend Dick to the marvellously sane Dick who saw the bend coming, perhaps, and wrote about that. That's much more interesting. So religion got him in the end, and so did all those drugs.
Well, I think he was a different person to different people in a fairly good way, in that he had some kind of talent to make acquaintances almost immediately think they were fast friends, which is, there were crowds of torn up people at his funeral who you understood he'd just really remotely known supermarket checkers and bank tellers and stuff like that. But somehow everybody had the impression that they were among his closest friends. And it sounds a little odd, I suppose, but it generally made people feel real good about themselves.
The so-called Philip Dick cult of the 80s began with Blade Runner, and I don't think that it would have begun, or maybe it would have taken 30 extra years had it not been for Blade Runner. The movie tie-in edition of the book was and remains far and away the most successful publication with which he was ever involved. It simply reached this mass market that he had never before been able to reach.
A new life awaits you in the off-world colony. The chance to begin again in a golden land of opportunity and adventure.
They don't advertise for killers in a newspaper. That was my profession. Ex-cop, ex-Blade Runner, ex-killer.
I didn't think he was being fair because he had only seen a few clips, but the impression that he got from them was twofold. He felt that visually and atmospherically they had captured the inside of his brain in an uncanny way, that he had this mental vision of what the scenery would look like, and there it was brought to life. And he found it quite astonishing and almost disturbing. But from what he was able to pick up of the dialogue and the basic approach to the Deckard character, he felt uncomfortable with it and felt that it had been Hollywoodized, and it was actually rather bitter about that.
Philip.K. Dick wrote with a hunger to understand what reality was, what it ultimately all meant. And that is a very unfamiliar hunger in this century, where metaphysical questions tend to be treated per se as insane questions. What Philip K. Dick did as a science fiction writer was to expand the bounds of the genre to include the most profound and brilliant metaphysical ideas that have ever been examined, I would say, in science fiction, and at the same time to retain what is great and marvelous about the genre itself, which is the excitement, the sense of alien invasion, the sense of talking apparati that interact with human beings, the sense of daily confusing life in some imagined future that resembles our own. He merged the two, and he turned them into novels, the like of which we've never seen before.
Joe crossed the waiting room to the Padre booth. Seated inside, he put a dime into the slot and dialed at random. The marker came to rest at Zen.
Tell me your torments,
the Padre said. Joe said, I haven't worked for 7 months, and now I've got a job that takes me out of the soul system entirely, and I'm afraid... The Padre's weightless voice floated reassuringly back to him.
You have worked and not worked. Not working is the hardest work of all.
That's what I get for dialing Zen, Joe said to himself. He switched to Puritan ethic.
Without work,
the Padre said in a more forceful voice,
a man is nothing. He ceases to exist.
Rapidly, Joe dialed Roman Catholic.
God and God's love will accept you. You're safe in his arms. He will never...
Joe dialed Allah.
Kill your foe,
the Padre said. Joe dialed Judaism.
A bowl of fatworm soup,
the Padre began soothingly, but then...
I'm sorry, Mr. Fernwright, but your credit has expired. Please replace the receiver.